was talking with Antonio about getting money. He brings up that he could kill his grandma.
Joe McEnroe. Joe McEnroe's case is one of the most chilling examples of brutality and emotional manipulation. In 2007, McEnroe, under the influence of his girlfriend Michelle Anderson, brutally murdered her family during a Christmas Eve gathering. The crime was heinous. McEnroe shot and killed Anderson's parents, brother, and 2 children, executing them all with a single shot to the head. The violence occurred in a matter of moments, and McEnroe, who had no prior criminal history, suddenly became the judge, jury, and executioner. At his trial, the defense focused on McEnroe's mental illness, arguing that he was manipulated by Anderson, who was paranoid and believed her family was out to get her. They painted McEnroe as a vulnerable man, a hermit crab who had been emotionally and mentally shaped by Anderson, whom they described as violent and domineering. McEnroe's defense team claimed he was not capable of making rational decisions on his own due to his emotional dependence on Anderson, who had become the central figure in his life.
Seeing everybody die, remembering what I did, how worthless it is, how worthless I am because I killed all these people. They deserve to die. They deserve to live a lot more than I did, but they died. They deserve to live a lot more than I did, but...
You've been afforded a tremendous opportunity, Mr. McEnroe. It's the opportunity to live out your life to its natural end. This is an opportunity that you denied to each one of your victims, including 2 children who had barely begun their lives.
This portrayal of McEnroe as a victim of his girlfriend's influence was central to the defense strategy. In contrast, the prosecution labeled McEnroe as the worst of the worst. This emotional display was contrasted with his earlier behavior, which seemed more detached from the gravity of his actions. In his defense, McEnroe's lawyer argued that despite his crimes, he was entitled to mercy due to his mental condition. They suggested that his life sentence should not be met with the death penalty, despite the atrocities he committed. The final decision ultimately lay with the jury. The question was whether McEnroe deserved the death penalty or a second chance at life, even though he had denied his victims the same opportunity. The jury had to weigh his emotional reactions, his mental state, and the severity of his crimes in determining his fate. If you're enjoying this content and finding it engaging, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Jaleel Smith Riley. Jaleel Smith Riley's case is a stark example of a young man who committed a brutal crime and later sought to evade the consequences. In 2013, Riley was involved in a violent armed robbery that led to the death of Portia Brooks and the injury of Aaron Martin. On the night of the crime, Riley, alongside 2 accomplices, ambushed a parked car. He pulled Martin from the passenger seat, shot him in the head, and then turned the gun on Brooks, who was seated inside the vehicle. Brooks succumbed to her injuries a few days later, while Martin survived. Riley initially pled guilty to aggravated murder and attempted murder, acknowledging his role in the crime.
A term of life without parole as to count 4 for the offense of attempted.
This is somebody that feels genuine remorse. This is somebody that thinks about this every day, and he knows that he can't go back in time and undo what he did.
However, later, he attempted to withdraw his guilty plea, arguing that he was pressured into it. His decision to change his plea was made against the advice of his legal counsel and was seen as an attempt to avoid a harsher sentence. This unexpected change of heart angered the families of the victims, who had been seeking justice for their loved ones. During his sentencing, Riley appeared emotional, and his actions in court were a mix of defiance and remorse. He interrupted the judge, questioning what sentence he would receive, and became visibly upset when his attempt to withdraw his guilty plea was rejected. As the judge sentenced him to life in prison without parole, Riley dropped to the floor in despair, possibly realizing the full extent of the consequences he now faced. Riley's emotional outbursts during the sentencing appeared to be genuine, but they were also met with skepticism. Some observers felt that his tears and anger were less about remorse and more about frustration with the outcome of his case. Antonio Barbeau. Antonio Barbeau's case is a tragic and deeply disturbing example of adolescent violence. In 2012, Barbeau, a 14-year-old boy, was involved in the brutal murder of his 78-year-old great-grandmother, Barbara Olson, in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Barbeau and his accomplice, Nathan Pappy, were both convicted of the murder. The crime was carried out with shocking violence. Barbeau attacked Olson with a hatchet, and after fleeing the scene, he and Pappy attempted to steal her belongings.
Okay, so Tino hit his grandmother on the head?
Yeah.
Okay. What did he hit her on the head with?
Axe.
The court proceedings revealed a deeply unsettling narrative. According to Barbeau's own testimony, he was initially hesitant to commit the murder, but was coerced by Pappy, who insisted that they needed to kill Olson in order to steal her money. Barbeau's defense argued that he had been mentally affected by a car accident in 2009, which left him with brain damage. This, they suggested, impaired his judgment and contributed to his involvement in the crime. During the sentencing, Barbeau became visibly emotional, sobbing as he tried to express remorse. However, his attempt to apologize was met with mixed reactions.
It's ascribed to the fact that someone who has a concussion 3 years earlier somehow can't control himself to the point where he would allegedly, well, not allegedly anymore, he pled in, kill his great-grandmother. Sorry, I don't buy it. His life is gone. He's going to wait till he's 50, you know? He won't be anything like, he is.
His defense team, struggling to read his apology due to their own emotional reactions, painted him as a troubled teenager whose violent actions were partly influenced by his cognitive issues. The judge, however, seemed unconvinced, calling the crime nothing short of horrific, and stating that it was one of the most disturbing cases he had seen in his long career. Despite Barbeau's apparent remorse, the court sentenced him to at least 36 years in prison, with the possibility of release when he reaches the age of 50. The emotional outbursts from Barbeau in court were significant, but they did little to mitigate the gravity of the crime. His victim's family, including Olson's daughter, also spoke in court. They expressed their pain and anger over the loss of their loved one, and emphasized that, despite Barbeau's apologies, the crime could never be undone. Olson's daughter acknowledged Barbeau's apparent remorse, but also made it clear that her family would never be the same. This case raises important questions about adolescent criminality and the role of mental health in determining guilt and punishment.
Tell that Tino feels very badly about participating in killing my mother.
About getting money. He brings up that he could kill his grandma.
Why did you do that? Why did you walk over there and hit her?
I was scared.
Why were you scared?
That if I don't do what Antonio says, that he might try something.
Alex Murdaugh. Alex Murdaugh, a prominent South Carolina lawyer, became the center of a high-profile case when he was accused of murdering his wife, Maggie, and son, Paul, in June 2021. The case captivated the nation, partly due to the Murdaugh family's long-standing influence and Murdaugh's questionable behavior during the trial. A key moment in the trial occurred when body camera footage from the crime scene was shown, revealing the gruesome aftermath of the murders. When Murdaugh saw the footage, he allegedly wiped away tears, leading to intense scrutiny. While some believe this displayed remorse, others, including the responding officer, noted that Murdaugh did not seem genuinely distressed. His actions raised doubts about whether his emotions were authentic or part of an attempt to manipulate the jury.
I sentence you to prison for murdering him for the rest of your natural life. Those sentences will run consecutive.
See him any tears, any physical tears?
I did not.
I didn't see him cry. He's been getting threats. Most of it's been benign stuff we didn't take serious.
Okay.
He's been getting punched. I know that's what it is.
The prosecution also highlighted Murdaugh's history of financial crimes and deceit, suggesting that he might have been motivated by his growing personal and financial problems. Although Murdaugh claimed that his son had been receiving threats due to a boating accident, the evidence did not fully support this narrative, leading many to question his version of events. If you want to see more, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss out on the next video.